Let me ask you, when was the last time you did something small just because you wanted your partner to feel loved, appreciated, or seen? This wasn't because you needed to fix something. It wasn't because it was date night or you got in a fight. You just noticed them and did something for them. You see, we have a tendency to overcomplicate relationships. We look for, of course, the communication styles to be better, bigger date nights, elaborate vacations, deeper conversations, and of course, the perfect way to solve conflict. But sometimes that actually moves us so far away from these very simple things that we can do to create connection. And we forget what actually makes a relationship feel good, right? It's those little things that matter. And in reality, relationships don't fall apart because of a bad day. They fall apart because repeated patterns of of criticism and disconnect, and that of course creates resentment and missed opportunities to connect, really, which is important. And that slowly chips away at the emotional health of the relationship. Here's the good news though. You can change those patterns with small intentional choices. And today we're talking about 5 simple ways you can have a better relationship today. Welcome back to Dating Deja Vu. Well, welcome to Dating Deja Vu, the podcast where we talk about your patterns, your pitfalls, and personal growth in modern dating. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, marriage and family therapist and dating and relationship expert. If your dating and love life looks a lot of bit of the same, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. So let's figure it out together. What is up, Deja crew? Welcome back to Dating Deja Vu. I'm so excited you're here today because we are talking about 5 very simple things you can do to create more connection with your partner right now. And I think it's really important to note that prioritizing your relationship doesn't mean that you're putting yourself last or losing yourself. We talk about not doing that. You need to take care of yourself, your boundaries, your needs, and your emotional health. But there's a difference between prioritizing yourself and putting your relationship at the bottom of the list. As I've said multiple times, the way that I explain it to my clients is your relationship to your higher self, whether that is God, the universe, whatever that looks like, is number one. Then your relationship to yourself, then your relationship to your partner, you and your partner's relationship as parents, if you do choose, and then your relationship to your children. But we flip that all of the time, right? Your relationship shouldn't come before you, but it also shouldn't get whatever's left of you. And we're going to talk about very simple things to do in an effort for that relationship to feel like a priority. And I feel like as a married woman and really someone who's worked with many couples throughout my career, what ends up happening is we just get too busy. And the way that society has taught us to appreciate our person, especially when we look at commercials and social media, right? In social media, you'll see people going on elaborate vacations. I just went to one. Like, I am totally someone who's recently done this, and I'm guilty of it. You see the elaborate vacations, you see the nice dinners out, or you see the expensive gifts. And that kind of keeping up with the Joneses mentality takes over. And you think, oh, that's what every wife or every girlfriend or every boyfriend or partner wants, right? Doesn't have to be gender specific. That's what they want. And so because it's this kind of grandiose thing, it's not necessarily going to happen all of the time. And what ends up happening is you have to save your money or you have to plan for it, right? Or it requires like a certain setting. So we kind of have to push it off. And so that moment where we're like, I want to do something so nice for my person, and this like grandiose way of expressing that is wonderful, we lose the moment, right? We lose the moment of, I just want to see you right now. And we get busy and we're either inundated with, okay, I'm going to do it this way. I've got to do it in the grand way. And what we're not doing is the stuff that is so simple. And I remember when my husband and I first moved in together, he does leave for work often, and I would just leave him little notes throughout his stuff, like his suitcase and his work bag, and he still has them today, and we've been together now 12 years. And little things like that go a long way, but we tend to forget about them. We also tend to allow our struggles in the relationship to be the priority over taking care of each other. So, what I mean by that, say that you and your partner have an ongoing issue, right? Maybe you and your partner are having issues communicating, or you're having issues sexually. You make that the guiding light of the relationship. So, doing some of the things I talk about today, you'll talk yourself out of doing them because you're like, no, because if I do that, then I'm, telling him it's okay to communicate with me that way, or it's okay for her to not want to be intimate with me or romantic with me, I should say. That is not true. Actually, it's quite the opposite. When you can put into practice the things that I'm talking about today, you ultimately can chip away at some of the issues that you're having because both people feel appreciated. And when we feel appreciated, we feel heard, we feel understood, we're more likely to want to change for somebody else. And another barrier I see is just this idea that it's not enough. But everything I'm going to talk about, what I want you guys to think about is like, how would I feel if someone did this to me? Now, for some of you out there, you might be like, well, yeah, if I get compliments all the time, like it doesn't seem genuine, I'm not going to believe it. That's a you problem, baby. That is not a them problem. If your partner wants to compliment you on something each day, let them and take it in. If your inability to take it in is making you question it, that is you. Okay. However, for some of you, you're just going to think like, it's not enough. Like she's watching all her friends, get inundated with diamonds and Louis Vuitton purses. Like what would this one little thing do for her? Think about how it would feel for you. And if you, like I said, if you're feeling any resistance to it, I want you to look into that, because that is a you resistance rather than a them. Now, if you have someone who is love bombing you or someone who is not following through with action, that's different. However, I'm talking about good relationships being great in this episode. So let's get into it. First things first, as I already mentioned, is compliment your partner every single day. Finding one genuine appreciation about your partner and simply telling them. Maybe it's how they handled a difficult situation. My husband on a customer service line is so calm and so kind, and he's everything I wish I could be and more. I'm like, that was great. You handled that really well, right? Maybe it's you appreciate how hard they work, or that they made you laugh after a rough day, or you notice that they started the water for the pasta that you usually start because they noticed that you were tired. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, and she was talking about how she had all the intention of making homemade pasta. And like she went to the farmer's market, she got all the things she needed, the tomatoes of this. But by the end of the day, she was spent, and her partner noticed. And I don't think he made the pasta, but he, was able to bring things together and get them fed, and like no one was upset about it. And it's just little things, right? And it's not just thinking like that was nice. Anytime you're thinking like, oh, that was really nice, fucking say it, you guys. Say it with your mouths, right? Because if you have that moment and you can share that moment, it sticks. It sticks with you of like having a sense of appreciation and being able to tell someone you appreciate them. There's something emotional in that for yourself. And then also for them to hear it. And ladies, you want to get a man to redo something over and over again? Tell him you thank you. Compliment him. I promise you. They're so simple. I love you guys. I love you men listening. You're very simple. I understand it. Here's the thing though, as I mentioned, when you're frustrated with someone, your brain becomes really good at like pulling out what's wrong. We all know this, right? My husband can wear one outfit, but if I'm pissed at him, I'll be like, that looks stupid in my head. Even though maybe a week earlier, I'm like, oh, he looks really cute in that, right? Or even little things. Like, I remember when I would come home from work after a stressful day, if there was dishes in the sink, I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind. Or if like I told my husband to do something because he worked from home and he forgot a task, or he was doing an annoying habit he likes to me, he chews really loud. Oh, I hate it, right? I would just feel so frustrated. And eventually what ends up happening is your partner, my husband in this situation, constantly feels like they're being evaluated, right? So instead, we need to intentionally look for what's right. We're not ignoring the problems. We're just making sure the problems aren't the only freaking thing that we experience with our partners, about our partners, and to our partners. So complimenting your partner every single day. And again, it doesn't need to be crazy. Next one, ask the question behind the question. It is not about the dishes. Sometimes criticism isn't really what it sounds like. I'll give you a few examples here. So when someone says like, you never help me around here, most likely what they're saying is like they feel alone in the dynamics of the home, right? Or when I hear, you never want to do anything with me, what I hear, well, or when they say that, excuse me, what I hear as their therapist is like, I miss my partner. I want to spend time with them, right? Or I might hear someone say, you care more about your phone than me, right? As a clinician, what I'm hearing is, I want to feel important. I want to feel like a priority. And what we tend to do is immediately start defending ourselves against the criticism rather than, as I say, when you get critical with your partner, we need to get curious with our partner and ask yourself, what might be the feeling underneath this, right? What are they really asking for when they're expressing themselves? And criticism obviously can sometimes be very poorly expressed longing for connection. I get it. We've all done it before. And if we can respond to that longing instead of fighting, right? Or respond to that longing with not criticism, but instead get curious, we create an entirely different situation, conversation, and we create an opportunity to reconnect. When you can ask someone, okay, so your partner says, you never help around here. Usually what you're going to say, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And you know that doesn't work because you guys probably have that conversation multiple times. And you list all the things and she's like, no, you're not helping. So, oh, you just did that. Look at all the things I did. And now we're having a, fucking, what's it called? A dick comparing contest. And you both leave pissed, right? Because you feel inadequate as a partner. She doesn't feel supported. I'm just using male, female here. Whereas if you said, she says, you don't help around here anymore. Get curious. Thank you for letting me know. What would more help look like for you? Or asking questions about, I have a perception of how I'm helping. It sounds like that doesn't feel like enough help. What would that look like? I want to understand what help would be, because I don't know if I've told you guys this, but the other day, my husband and I were having a conversation and, he holds my hand and like, that's his thing, but like, he's not really like touchy feely other than that. Well, he puts his hand on my leg, but like to him, he's being kind of romantic by holding my hand. In my head, romance looks a little bit different. And it was just a really interesting conversation of, he's like, well, no, I am being romantic. I'm holding your hand. And I was like, well, yes, and I'd like some of these other things too. Okay, boom, got it. I understand that where I thought I was being romantic and where you want me to be is different. And so curiosity is an incredible skill. It's an incredible way of learning. Remember, intimacy is into me, you see. Curiosity is the view into them. Asking questions, even saying, oh, that's an interesting way to explain that. Can you tell me more? Or that's an interesting comment. Can you kind of elaborate on it? Rather than just defense, right? Defense doesn't work. You guys know it doesn't work because we've been probably fighting over the same thing over and over again. The reason why is we're not getting to the ground level. We're not getting to the root of that problem. So when your person can say, help looks like spending time with me at the end of the day, because when I do that, everything feels manageable. That help. Not that that's a great example, but like when you're thinking help, you're thinking checklist, right? When he or she might be like, no, actually, help is like you holding me in your arms and making me feel supported. Totally different and probably a lot easier to do, right? So ask questions, get curious. All right. Next one is let's repair within 24 hours. Healthy relationships are not conflict free. And those relationships that say that they don't fight scare me. Healthy relationships are repair rich, if you will. They have all the repair, and that's what we want. And here's the thing, we're going to misunderstand each other. You're going to say things that you don't want to say. You're going to have moments that are going to cause frustration. And the goal is never, ever, ever to disconnect from your relationship. We want to find our way back to each other and take space in healthy ways when we need it. Because, people always say like, you shouldn't go to bed angry. It's like, well, if I need that space to calm my nervous system, tell myself I'm okay, to take all of those past triggers, right? Like they're going to leave me, or he doesn't love me, I'm not lovable. Bring my nervous system down to say, hey, there is no threat here. Y'all can go back in the dungeon where you belong, right? That's a whole nother conversation about how we do that in therapy. You guys, this is not the space for that. When you can take healthy space and take that time to really kind of check yourself and where your mind is going with the conflict, whether it's overnight or, a few hours away, take the space. But we want to come back and we want to repair within 24 hours, right? So when we're taking that space, we can use things like saying, I need some time to calm down, but I want to come back and talk about this. Can we sit down after work tomorrow? Right? Now, if you were like me when you were younger, that would feel like absolute like dread, like hell. I want it fixed now. But that didn't work for me. That was a subconscious response to fix and get you to like me again. Because in my life, that kept me safe, right? That that anxiety over fix actually did not serve me in relationships because I was triggered. I was triggered to fix so that you can like me, right? So then I would end up people pleasing, and then nothing would really get resolved because the people pleasing and the taking care of people were the constant fights in these relationships. So I needed to learn to take a beat myself. So I need to take some time. Let's schedule time to come back to this, right? This isn't I'm done with you. It's definitely not stonewalling and like completely ignoring each other in 3 days of silence. And I'm not going to lie, like that sometimes is easier for me to do because I, like the quietness, but again, I'm not going to do it for 3 days. We're always going to come back. And I'm not going to lie, like my husband and I have had fights where like I did not want to look at his fucking face. And I just went to my room. He stayed in the living room. We would do whatever we needed to do, but eventually within that 24-hour period, we're coming back together and we're having that conversation. Repair can be very simple. In the next episode, I'm going to go through kind of what a true apology looks like, because I think with everything going on of like Nia and Danny from the Valley and even fucking Amanda on the City, like these people are just throwing out I'm sorries, right? But they're not really actually following through with what an apology is. But anyways, repair though can sound like a true apology, which you'll find out next week. You can say I didn't handle that well, right? I understand why that hurt you. Can we start over on this situation? Right? You actually don't have to agree to repair a relationship. You just have to have the willingness to take responsibility for your part and understand. And when I say understand their part, it doesn't mean you have to like get it for yourself. That's so important. You have to just understand that that works for them. And that can be really hard in relationships because like we kind of try to use our own experience to understand the world. And in relationship, you may not understand things. And I'll just give you an easy example. Like I have true ADHD and my husband understands that my brain just works differently. He doesn't get it. His brain doesn't work that way. But he knows if I'm on my computer and he's yelling my name, I don't fucking hear him. So there are things that he does in an effort to get my attention, which might be wait until I might put my finger up like this and I'll like da 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 da. Okay, what do you need to say? Right? And he doesn't take offense to that. That's just how my brain works. Or he might like, if it's really important, kind of like come to me instead of depending on me hearing him. So that's really important to know. Like he doesn't understand how my brain works, but he gets that that's how I work. He doesn't have to understand it with his own, brain and experience, but he understands it's mine. So that's number 3. Number 4, do one small act of kindness every day. Make the coffee, send a sweet text to them, give them a hug. I always tell you guys, like right around noon after lunch, I go sit on my husband's lap and give him a hug. And I look at whatever stupid thing he's watching on YouTube. You could, gosh, there's so many things. Pick up their favorite snack. Take something off their plate for the day. Put something on their plate for the day. You can put your phone down. That would be nice. And just listen to them. Small acts communicate something so freaking powerful. And it is, I fucking see you. I see you. I thought about you in this situation. And really, it's saying you matter. You matter to me. And you matter throughout my day. Think of these as deposits in your relationship, deposits into your bank, right? We don't need this grand romantic gesture. We just need the consistency in these little deposits over time. It's like thinking I'm going to make money when I win the lottery. Like I'm going to have money when I win the lottery, rather than recognizing like I can save a few dollars every day. And then over time, I can have millions of dollars, right? Those deposits are simply that. It's the grandiose is like the lottery or the jackpot you win at the casino, whereas these little gestures are putting that money away every single day. And I think that's really important. And again, I'll just share myself because that's who I have. I guess I could share some things from clients, but for myself, my husband now, so it's hot here in Arizona. And during the summertime, I despise hot coffee. I want cold coffee. And then in the wintertime, I want hot coffee. So the way that our coffee machine works is it's this like over ice option. So you put ice in the actual like whatever the thing urn, and then it pours it. It pours it hot though. It's very strange, but it like pours it more concentrated. So then whatever. He sets the coffee every night. So he sets it for himself, which is hot. But what does he do? He wakes up about 45 minutes to an hour before me. He takes a cup and he puts the hot coffee in the cup and he puts it in the freezer. So then when I'm ready to have my coffee, which is usually after I walk my dog, it's usually like I'll have a iced coffee when I'm working out or maybe afterwards. So it's cool by then. My coffee's cold. What a nice thing, right? And like, it's so simple. It's so simple. So those are just some little things, right? And you can actually ask your partner directly let them fucking guide you, right? What's one small thing I could do that would make your day easier? Then do it. I tell you guys all the time, Mark, when I'm stressed, will say, what can I do to help? And I'll say, do this, do this, do this. And then he does it. And it's very kind. So those small little gestures go a long way. The last one is accept that compromise is constant in a relationship. Being compatible does not mean we're agreeing on everything, you guys. It really doesn't. You're going to disagree about money, scheduling, vacations, family, responsibilities, sex, parenting, 100 of things. Okay. And the goal of this isn't winning. It's finding a solution that bring both people together and that help both people understand that they matter. We can compromise without abandoning our beliefs, without abandoning our boundaries. It means recognizing that we're building a life with someone else. That's the whole point. We're in this relationship. I think sometimes we forget that we are in a relationship to build a life with somebody else. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot. And for so many people, they get in a relationship to have someone else take care of them. It's like, no, that's one-sided. You have to build together. You have to compromise together. You have to realize that the other person does not think like you. They think similarly, or they have similar values. However, you're gonna have to compromise. I'm trying to think of things I compromise on. My husband bought this race simulator thing that he plays like multiple times a day. Do I love it? No. I think he loves it. But I'm like, okay, whatever. If it makes him happy, have the race simulator in the house, right? It's a whole system. We compromise on that. What other things do I compromise on? I think it's very interesting because compromise is now sometimes become now our routine. Like when I was younger, my boyfriends and I would be out and about all the time. But now, like, we don't go out on Sundays other than the one Sunday that we go out every year, which is NFL kickoff Sunday. But before that was a compromise. Like Mark would only go out if like his friends would ask him to go out on a Sunday. But if I asked him to go out on a Sunday, and I don't mean like just to get lunch, like if we wanted to go like Sunday fun day, and it'd be a compromise for him. And so I would make his friends text him so that we could all go out. I hacked the system, but it was a compromise. So just, thinking of it in that way. Sometimes you get in your way of situations. Sometimes they get in their way of compromising on a situation. Sometimes the best thing to do is create a third option that neither of you really want, or maybe one that not that you don't want, but you wouldn't necessarily choose alone. That's partnership. And my favorite one here is, what are we going to eat? I give him 3 options, knowing that there's an option in there he's going to want, or even 5 options. I'll say, okay, I would have, this happened on Sunday, I would have Postino's. I would have, what did I say? Pizza. Oh, it was Saturday night. Postino, pizza and wings, or there was another one. And he picked Postino, and it was great. And it was delicious for me. It was delicious for him. That's a partnership, right? I didn't have to make a decision. He didn't have to make a decision. We kind of made a decision together. So here's your challenge, guys. Pick one of these 5 that you can practice starting today. Notice something good about your partner. Notice what's underneath, that they're asking more from you rather than criticizing them, right? When you get critical, get curious. Repair within 24 hours, but take space when you need it. Do one small act of kindness, or choose to compromise instead of trying to win, whatever it is, because relationships aren't usually transformed by those giant gestures. I mean, you see it in people all the time. You think, oh my God, they have such a wonderful relationship. Look at all these things they do. And then they break up 2 minutes later. Like, come on, what do we not learn from like reality TV and social media, right? Relationships are transformed in the small stuff, and doing those things consistently. You can't necessarily control how they respond, but you can control how you show up. And that's a wonderful thing. And sometimes creating a bigger relationship, or better relationship, I should say, doesn't require something bigger, right? It requires returning to those simple things that we really just have stopped doing. And I remember there was this religious movie called like Firestorm with Kirk Cameron. And it was really kind of about these things that I'm talking about. Like he had to find something good. Like him and his wife were divorcing, and the pastor, I think, my mom sent me this movie, was like, okay, but until before you divorce, do all of these things first. And it was a lot of this stuff that we're talking about here. I don't remember all of them. I think some of them are not in my list, but anyways, this requires you to return to simple, and simple's great, right? So hopefully you found this helpful. If you have that one couple who just needs a little pick me up, or your friend and you were talking about how she doesn't feel like her partner is pouring into her or him, send them this. Send them this. Be like, maybe start here. See how things go. Like, because here's the thing, when you notice this stuff and you start doing this stuff, it changes the way you feel about your person. I promise you that, especially the kind of noticing something good in them each day. It's very important, or that compliment each day, because we're not just complimenting to compliment. I want you to feel it. I want you to be like, oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that my husband wiped off the counters. Thank you for wiping off the counters, right? So send it over to them. If you love this podcast, again, I need some reviews, guys. I need some reviews. I need some shares. I need some downloads. I need some follows, and I need subscribes on YouTube. We've got a great following thus far compared to my other podcast. We're doing really well, but I want to fucking do better. So you guys are the only ones who can help me do that by making sure, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that you have that follow button turned on. And if you are on YouTube looking at my face, you have subscribed to my YouTube channel. That's how the algorithm works. 5-star rating and reviews make things even more better. So hopefully you found this helpful. And I will always remind you that it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.